I made over $115 million online, but it didn't start with business. It started with a book, actually 10 of them. These are the books that reprogrammed my mind and gave me the mindset and tactics to get rich. So if you want to make more money and live a smarter life, let's get into it. The first book is Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Now, this book was one of the first that completely shattered my perspective around money. When I was growing up, I used to think people with money either inherited it or did something shady to get it. And I was raised on the belief that if you had money, you probably stepped on someone to get there. So I had a really toxic mindset around wealth, something I wasn't even aware of. What Secrets of the Millionaire Mind did was rewire all that. It broke down the idea that wealth is something you earn, but more importantly, something you allow yourself to receive. Your financial thermostat is set internally, and until you change that, no amount of hard work will matter. I started realizing that I could work 80 hours a week, but if I believed I was only worth $50,000 a year, I'd subconsciously sabotage anything that exceeded that. So I literally started rewriting those beliefs. I deserve wealth. Money flows to me because I provide massive value, things like that. It sounds cheesy, but it worked. And this shift was foundational because it allowed me to step into a higher level conversation, raise my prices, take risks, and not feel like a fraud for wanting success. Book number 2 is Think and Grow Rich. This book is a classic for a reason, and when I read it, it wasn't just some feel-good motivation. It was a full-on blueprint for how to build belief, develop persistence, and lock into a goal so hard that failure becomes irrelevant. When I dropped out of engineering school, something everyone around me said was a terrible idea, by the way. I had zero proof I'd make it. No money, no traction, but what I did have was what this book calls a definiteness of purpose. I burned the ships and I committed. And every morning I'd reread my goal statement out loud. Every night I'd visualize the outcome. I trained my subconscious like it was a muscle, and that's what this book teaches. Success isn't random, it's caused. And when I went 3 years making no money, this book kept me from quitting. It helped me think and grow into the person who could handle success even before I had it. Book number 3 is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. When I read this book, I was doing everything manually, grinding through the long days, bouncing between ideas, reacting to whatever hit me next. And I was constantly busy, but I never really felt effective. And 7 Habits helped me shift that. The habit that hit the hardest was begin with the end in mind. I started building offers, brands, and teams not just for the short-term cash, but with a long-term vision. I created systems, I built SOPs, I hired better, I stopped saying yes to every opportunity and started getting strategic. Also, put first things first, changed how I organized my life. Instead of constantly reacting, I became proactive. I planned my week, I blocked time for deep work, I even prioritized my health and relationships again. It made me a better business owner, but more importantly, a better human being. Book number 4 is How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you're in business and you haven't read this book, you're at a massive disadvantage. It's not about manipulation, it's about connection. When I started coaching, selling, leading a team, this book gave me the tools to actually make people feel heard. I stopped trying to be impressive and I started being curious. I learned how to disarm resistance, how to praise people genuinely, how to give feedback without crushing morale. And yeah, it even helped with dating, ironically. When I was younger and awkward, this book felt like a cheat code for social intelligence. It taught me that people remember how you make them feel, not necessarily what you say. And that alone made me be better at everything from sales calls to recruiting team members to managing partnerships. Book number 5, Spin Selling. If you do sales, and especially if you do high ticket, spin selling is a weapon. It's not about slick lines or pressure tactics, it's about understanding the psychology of why people buy. SPIN stands for situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. That framework taught me how to uncover real pain, show people the cost of inaction, and guide them to a solution without ever selling. Once I applied this, my close rates jumped dramatically. I stopped trying to convince people and I started leading them. I also trained my sales teams using this framework. It created consistency, it turned random calls into structured conversations, and that structure led to predictability, which led to scalable revenue. So if you're winging sales, you're leaking money, and this book stopped the leaks for me. Book number 6, 48 Laws of Power. At first I didn't love this book. It felt dark, almost manipulative, but then I realized this book isn't about becoming a tyrant, it's about becoming aware. Aware of how power moves, how influence works, and how to protect yourself in the game of business. Laws like say less than necessary, guard your reputation, and crush your enemy totally aren't about being evil, they're about understanding that business isn't always fair. I used to expect loyalty, honesty, and logic from people, and then I got burned, and this book taught me how to anticipate moves, control optics, and think 5 steps ahead. So in short, it made me sharper, more strategic, and less naive. Book number 7, Awaken the Giant Within. Tony Robbins helped me reconnect with my emotional state. After I lost football to injuries, I lost part of my identity. I was angry, I was drifting, and this book brought me back. It gave me tools to master my mindset and change what I focused on and align my actions with values. One section in particular talks about how changing your emotions is just about changing your physiology, focus, and language. And that really rocks me because I realized I didn't need to feel motivated, I could create it. That helped me push through when things were brutal in business, when ads didn't work, when team members quit, when revenue dropped. This book was fuel. Book 8, Getting Things Done. This book saved me from burnout. I was working 14-hour days, juggling a million tasks, and always falling behind. GTD showed me how to process ideas, tasks, and priorities in a system that emptied my mind and gave me clarity. The idea of a trusted system changed my life because instead of keeping everything in my head, I created workflows, email processing, weekly reviews, task batching, delegation protocols. It made me feel in control even when I had 50 moving parts in a single day. GTD helped me scale faster because I wasn't the bottleneck anymore. Book number 9 is The Lean Startup. Early in my career, I wasted time building things no one wanted. Funnels, products, content, because I thought it was what the market wanted. The Lean Startup flipped that. It taught me how to test small, fail fast, and then learn faster. So then I started launching MVPs, which is minimal viable product, getting real data and iterating quickly. I applied this to lead magnets, offers, pricing models, webinar scripts, everything in between, and that speed to market advantage helped me stay ahead of trends, double down on winners, and drop losers fast. If you're building something right now, stop perfecting it. Just launch it, measure, pivot, and that's what this book drilled into me. Book number 10 is The Innovator's Dilemma. Once you start making money, a new danger shows up: complacency. And this book taught me that companies who fail aren't the dumb ones, they're the ones who were too successful to adapt. And that scared me. So I started challenging myself every quarter. What would disrupt me right now? I looked at my offers, my pricing, my team structure. I gave myself permission to evolve, even if it meant breaking things that were already working. That mindset has helped me stay in the game while others get stuck defending yesterday's win. I'm already moving to tomorrow's strategy. This book taught me how to be aggressive about reinvention even when it's uncomfortable. If you found this helpful, subscribe and comment which book you're starting first down below. And if you want to lean on my experience with WAP and how I lost over $3,000 on it, click right here.